Hi, it's Matt Kendall here once again. It's very bright in here today. It's very sunny. I need to actually get some lighting in front of me because at the side is just from the window, so it looks a bit weird. I'm speaking with Holly today, Holly who's in Cumbria, and we did some IMT sessions. I won't check the notes, but we did two sessions. It was just two sessions, wasn't it? A week apart. And the last session, I think, was just 2, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Um, Now, Holly has actually done IEMT training. She does know about IEMT. But what today is really just giving her experience of what it was like to go through IEMT, why she was seeking IEMT, and basically what it's been like since. So, Holly, how are we doing today?
I'm good. Yeah, it's bright and sunny, so always puts me in a good mood.
Good. Yeah, it does. It does make a massive difference, the weather. It really does. It's like when people come to me and go, I'm feeling depressed and stuff. It's like, well, yeah, you live in Manchester. It rains 365 days a year.
All the time.
It's like, it really does. That's why I had to move because it just rained too much. Okay, back to you. So, Ollie, so basically, the four questions that we tend to go through in these testimonial sort of chats is what problems they were experiencing, how they knew about IEMT and why they came to see me, what they thought about the sessions, and how things have been since. So, Holly, basically, we'll actually start slightly a different way around because you already knew about IEMT. We're just speaking about Alan then. So before we'll get to why you actually came to see me, because you actually knew about IEMT, because it's usually the other way around, is that
Mm.
people have an issue, then are seeking solutions, but you actually knew about this solution or this treatment or this, this work beforehand. So just give people just a bit about your background in terms of sort of therapy, your training, and basically how you knew about IEMT.
So about 10 years ago, I started getting into neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, and I was living over in Northallerton at the time, and I came across a trainer, Alan Johnson, who did the NLP practitioner course. And it was through that course that IEMT was mentioned quite a lot. And that's how I got to know about you, Matt. So I trained as I got my practitioner certificate, and then it was a few years later. So I moved down south, and I started sort of picking up into my own sort of interest in therapy and stuff again. And I thought I'd seen some material sent to me through Alan, I think, and I think I'd seen you on Facebook as well, about some training. And I knew that you did train people. So I was just really interested in learning more about IEMT from you. So I embarked on the course a few years ago, and that's how I got to know more about it, really.
Okay, so you did the training, you did your NLP 10 years ago with Alan, and then because I trained with Alan, we were like in the original group of IMT trainers
Mm.
back in 2000 and I think it was 2013, if I remember correctly. And yeah, so I've no, like I say, I was chatting to him last night, Alan. So and he's just released his first book as well, Overthunk.
Yeah.
So he might be coming to speak at some events which I'm organizing in York. Um, my name kind of came up, and then you obviously come and did my training, and obviously I put a lot of like this. This is content. I put a lot of content out onto socials as well. So you knew about IMT, you did your training in IMT, but then recently, in the last couple of months, um, what has then led you to wanting to actually have IMT as a client? What's going into the level of detail that you're comfortable with? Just can you please give people just a bit of an explanation about why you were seeking help?
So I've I have had some traumatic experiences in my life, but I've kind of just got on with life. Um, and after my IEMT training, I didn't continue with it because I kind of, well, I had two children in quick succession, so one after the other, and life just got, very busy. But I have experienced further trauma as well, and I do know from what I learned about IEMT how effective it can be. So it's always kind of been in the back of my mind that, maybe I should get some work done and go through it myself, which I think's important anyway, even if you are going to take any training further. I think that's quite important to
Mm.
to experience it. But I actually came to you, Matt, because I needed your help. I was experiencing bad flashbacks from traumatic memories. The most debilitating thing I was experiencing was uncontrollable shaking of the hands. And sometimes I wouldn't notice it, but everyone else around me was like, "You're really shaking. Are you okay?" I mean, it would sometimes be for the majority of the day, especially when phone calls came through, when I had a meeting with people with authority. I mentioned to you, Matt, a big thing for me as well was things like police sirens, loud noises,
Mm.
basically. The police, yeah, was a big thing for me. And these flashbacks, and I was really struggling or starting to struggle with not wanting to be outside, uh,
Mm.
just feelings of kind of impending doom, and I just wanted to be inside the house. I have to go outside because I have the dog,
Mm.
and I've got to walk her, obviously, but I was very sort of happy to be back in the comfort of my own home again, and would often walk with my head down. So not really experiencing the outside world
Mm.
because I just felt so terrified of it.
Yeah.
So I knew I needed help, and I think it was the shaking of the hands because it was, as I described it, as quite debilitating
Yeah.
that I came to you because I knew this was something I couldn't, my head couldn't talk me out of.
Mm. So you were having, like I said, we won't go into detail, but you were in a bit of a situation. Things had happened. You were having problems with different authorities. You were staying inside as much as you could, but do you know what? It's actually quite good when you have to have a responsibility for somebody or something, such as a dog, or when you've actually got to go out and do something. Um, because again, if we're given the choice, we can just stay inside, and especially these days, you don't have to go out the house for anything if you don't want to. You can get absolutely anything delivered, within, you can get a pizza and stuff faster than an ambulance. Well, you can get anything
Yeah.
faster than an ambulance,
Yeah.
so so you don't have to go outside, but you are having to go outside, obviously, because you had a dog and so you had to go out, but you didn't enjoy it and you wanted to be back at home in the safety of your own home. Things would set you off, police sirens, loud noises, that kind of stuff, and you were suffering from this handshaking, which sometimes went on for the majority of the day, even though you were so used to it, you weren't aware of it, but other people were, yeah. So at that point, you contacted me and said you needed some help with these things. So we did two 1 hour sessions over, a week apart. What was it like? Because is it when people come to see me, it's either something because they want to change and they're looking forward to, or it's they have to change and they're sort of dreading it and are anxious about facing these things. So, what was it like actually coming for the sessions?
Um, well, as I've met you before, Matt, I felt very comfortable
Hmm.
speaking with you because I've done the training with you, and I guess from my perspective, I had an idea of how it was going to kind
Yeah.
of run, but I certainly didn't know what effect it would have on me.
Mm.
I kind of just felt that I said to myself that I kind of just need to trust in the process and just, let it be with you, who was conducting it, and just yeah, have a bit of faith and trust. And I just went into it very open-minded. I I didn't feel I didn't feel scared that I was going to come across anything that I didn't want to delve into,
Mm.
because I thought anything's better than dealing with what I'm dealing with on a daily
Yeah.
basis at the moment. So I thought, if I have to face stuff and I have to sit with someone comfortable, like I say, I didn't really know exactly what to expect, whether I would experience difficult feelings or anything like that.
Mm.
But I thought just anything, is much better than what I'm having to deal with, because I
Yeah.
just can't do it anymore.
No, I get it. I totally get it. So some people come to me out of inspiration or desperation. And sometimes people will have tried multiple different therapies and approaches and self-work and all this before they actually, come to see me. So, I actually asked you to think about some of these really painful memories. And the thing is, if people don't understand, we don't really talk about the content of the memories themselves. Now, sometimes once we've worked on that memory, the client actually does like to share a little bit because they're sort of now seeing it from a different perspective and it kind of takes on a different meaning and they take a different sort of understanding from it as well. So at that point, I don't mind people sharing some stuff about it as long as it doesn't detract from the work that we're doing. But I often ask people when they've have sort of what we call, sort of complex PTSD, where it's not just one thing that's happened because you've had multiple things kind of going on. Um, I often ask people to write down the most significant memories, which we will then use as a bit of a base to start off from, which will then produce a lot of the emotions, which we'll then sort of begin to process out. So, how was it for you from the start of the process of thinking about these memories to writing them down to actually being in the sessions? And what was it like to experience IEMT in sort of quite an intensive way, really? Because in the trainings, you're learning a bit, you're doing a bit. This was like hour-long sessions focused on you. So, what was the actual process like for you?
So, writing down the memories, I must say, was it that in itself was quite intense,
Mm,
because I've never put them into words.
yep.
But in a way, I guess that really did feel start of the process, because
Yeah.
I was getting them on paper and out of
Yeah.
me, and
Yep.
already that was starting to make me rationalize a little bit more.
Yeah.
The actual sessions were, I must say, they're quite, yeah, as you say, intense.
Mm,
And I, they weren't I don't mean this in a negative way, but they were quite sort of tiring.
mm,
I felt quite tired doing them after
yeah.
after a full hour, but they also went quite quickly. It was quite strange.
Mm,
As I say, I always felt that I was in a safe space, and that I had, plenty of breaks, and was able to come out of anything, felt I was able to come out of anything if I needed to. So, but experiencing it, it's quite hard to describe. It's quite strange, but I definitely ended up with a different perspective on the memories, and really intense emotions had seemed to been removed.
mm.
I don't know, Matt, if you want me to explain a bit more about how things changed for me
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
memories.
Please. Yeah.
So memories that were very, very vivid to me, and had real intense emotions attached to them, changed in a way that, so the colouring changed, the way that they were depicted changed. So they would often turn into sort of sketches. So
Yeah.
I would say, like the Winnie the Pooh sketches.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
how
Yeah, yeah.
I envisaged them by the end of,
Mm,
doing some, after we'd done some work on them. And yeah, so more cartoon-like, less intense, no color, um, and my perspective of them and relationship to them just really changed in a very, very short period of time. And as I say, it's really difficult to describe, but that's how it just works. I don't know
Yeah,
what it is.
because we went back, because if people don't know, essentially when people come to me with these kind of issues, we look at these presenting memories that you have and the flashbacks that you're kind of having. But then when we get into the emotional stuff, we're going back to what we call the imprints. And some of these, didn't check your notes, but we go back to like 8 or 9, in terms of age. We go back really far back to these memories. Were you surprised with any of the memories that the imprints that came out from the work that we did at all?
Yeah, because I went back even further than that. I was younger than that.
Mm,
Um, and one of the memories I can't really bring to the conscious mind, but it was definitely there.
yeah.
And it was a very, very clear picture. And I was very, very young, but the feeling of fear was so intense.
Mm,
And I must have been very, very frightened at that time, but it completely surprised me because it's something I've never thought about before, and I've never connected it to a time when I was so young.
And this is why, people say, can I do IEMT on myself and self-work? And it's like, well, you can a bit, but you're never going to get to these imprints probably unless you have somebody external to guide you. And this is why I find that self-development, although it's good, you're probably never going to get to the actual deep work, like the core transformational type of stuff that IEMT allows, because you're never going to, people will often not link, well, the way that I feel now is because something happened when I was 5 years old. They'll never kind of get to that. And I believe to get real change, you need to do two things. First of all, you need to regress back to cause, so going back to the imprint, and then you need to do something with that. And IMT does both. So we use the emotion to find the imprint, and then we hold the imprint whilst we move the eyes, which creates that change. And it often brings up quite a lot of surprising stuff, and it helps you to sort of relearn and see things from a different perspective. So let me ask you, since we did those sessions, how have things been? Because before then, you were having a lot of sort of anxiety, not wanting to go out, flashbacks, being triggered by sirens, different things. You've had to attend and do a lot of things that you weren't obviously looking forward to, and your hands were shaking a lot. So since the sessions, and I think the last one we did, I think was about 3 weeks ago. How have things been since?
Well, I'll talk a little bit about immediately after the sessions.
Hmm.
I almost felt quite elated
Hmm.
for a while, and a little bit off the planet. That's the only way I can kind of
Mm,
describe it. So a bit strange. But the first thing I noticed, and I mentioned it to you, was my hand shaking stopped, and it has stopped ever since. I've not had it again.
yeah,
And this was something that was happening daily.
yeah.
The police sirens, I don't get a reaction to them. I've had two meetings with the police officer since, and I know we did some work around that. My first meeting was fine. My second meeting was also fine. I had no feelings pre-meeting of anxiety or despair or overthinking or anything like that. I'm fine walking the dog now. I don't feel that I want to be inside the house all the time. And yeah, I think the main thing, as I say, that's been the huge difference is the shaking of the hands, because it would make things difficult, like typing an email or answering my phone or doing text messages, things like that. And also the whole, if the phone rang, jumping out my skin, that's all stopped. And I'm fine listening to police sirens going around the town, and so a lot's changed. It really has. And the handshaking was something that was so. I used to say to myself, just
Yeah,
stop. And I would try and calm myself down, but my head just couldn't control it.
yeah. Well, you're trying to use your conscious mind to try and control like a subconscious
Mm,
reaction and activity, and that's never going to really work. You can't talk yourself out of these problems because the problems are not real in a sense. Do you know what I mean? You're out of danger, but your body is living as if it is in danger all the time. And so what IEMT does, it allows you to come out of those dangerous situations of the past and into the present without having to fight it, without you having to say, calm down. You don't need to calm down if there's no response to the trigger, you
mm.
know? And so, yeah, so I deal a lot of people with this who have, they try all of these responses to deal with the symptoms. And, even taking things like beta blockers or whatever it might be, anything to try and calm down this response, but they don't look at what's causing it.
Yeah. And I just find it fantastic as well that the great thing I think about IEMT is, as you mentioned before, you don't have to go into great detail of these memories
Mm,
at all, and it's about the emotion attached to the memories, and that's
yeah,
what you're working on. And I just so I didn't feel over traumatized or anything like that going through the therapy, which I think is amazing, and just the speed of it.
yeah. Well, 2 sessions.
I know, I
Yeah,
know. It's really hard to put across because it is truly unbelievable. And I've done the training as well.
yeah,
And but having it done on myself and really going through it and just seeing how effective it is, this just blows my mind.
yeah. Well, it sounds like, you've had some really, really good changes. And let me ask you, what's your quality of life like now compared to what it was like sort of 6, 8 weeks ago? Just like average day to day general happiness level, sort of set
Yeah,
points. What's your quality of life like?
a lot sort of smoother. I don't, I'm, I'm not filled with fear every
Mm,
day, which in itself is really difficult to feel all the time because it doesn't just make my hands shake. I could feel it in here in my chest
yeah,
all the time. So everything is almost like the world is like a threat all the time.
yeah,
So now I just feel very sort of easy breezy, and as you know, Matt, I'm going through quite a difficult situation in my personal life at the moment, and nobody can take that away,
no,
and nobody could take away the worry surrounding
mm,
that. But I'm able to rationalize more. I realize that the level of worry can't control that either.
no,
So I just I'm generally happier, and I can kind of get on with my day a lot more without kind of looking around me all the time.
yeah.
So yeah, just more relaxed.
And it's that hypersensitivity to things, and yeah, when you're already sort of really sort of het up, any little thing can be obviously
Mm,
really sort of triggering, So yeah, no, I've worked with people where everything and any sound, they're just overly sensitive, and so just existing is very traumatic, painful, and tiring as well.
mm.
Yeah,
Exhausting.
yeah. What are your energy levels like now, day to day, compared to before?
Yeah, good. So well, because I feel able to walk the dog with without this sort of fear on my back.
Mm,
I walk her 3 times now a day, and I exercise morning and night now, whereas before it was just the morning.
Mm,
But I have, so what that shows me, because normally by 8 o'clock, that's it. I would just
mm,
curl up in bed. But now I stay up till about 10. I do another sort of half an hour, 40 minutes of exercise before I
cool.
go to bed. Um, so yeah, my energy levels are great.
Excellent. So there's probably people watching this who are going through a bad situation. And what I make clear as well from the beginning is that, you were going through this bad thing. You are still dealing with, we're not going to talk about these, but you are still dealing with some sort of things. And that's not therapy. That's something which is happening in your life and you are having to sort of deal with. It's the emotional impact it was having on you and your sort of day-to-day sort of existence. So that's what we can sort of do with sort of therapy. And we made sure the stuff that we were going to do wasn't going to interfere with, obviously kind of what's going on. But there might be some people watching this who have sort of tried everything. They're living in sort of an unhappy existence. They may be having handshaking, racing thoughts, flashbacks, anxiety, fear through. They may have been through like a traumatic or abusive relationship, or may have come back from sort of conflict or something sort of like that. And they may think that they are just, a lot of people just say they feel broken and they're never going to get over this. They just feel broken. So they try and hide it with alcohol, drugs, internet, living life on online, kind of stuff like this, not going out, not sort of seeing other people. So for those kind of people who are watching, who feel almost like there's kind of no hope, and they don't want to go to therapy to talk about it, what would you say about them trying IEMT? Or not, it could be with me, could be with any IEMT practitioner. But what would you say to those people who feel like they feel like broken?
That I've been there
Mm,
in that state of mind. I am one of the people I've done a lot of therapy, a lot of self-help, a lot of training in different therapeutic interventions. But nothing has worked on the things that I've described as IEMT has done.
mm,
And I may have not described it very well because it is quite a difficult thing to describe.
yeah.
But you might describe it very well. Um, but it just works. That's all I can say. It just works. And you don't have to go through, you don't have to dig up all sorts of stuff and re-traumatize yourself.
Mm,
It's very effective. It's very quick. And yeah, I would recommend it to anyone going through what you have just been describing. And as I say, nothing else for me has worked, and I'm 42 now. I've been probably in and out of different therapeutic interventions for about 20 years.
mm,
And I've just done 2 sessions with you. And, you know, I always refer back to the handshaking, but that has been I know it's been worse over the past few weeks, but that's something I've suffered with for years and years and
oh,
years.
okay.
So yeah, it's just gone.
Excellent.
And that's incredible. So I would recommend it to anyone. Give it a go. And yeah, see
And
it
it's
for
obviously
yourself.
much cheaper than doing therapy every week for an indefinite amount of time.
Yeah,
And, so.
yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your time today, Holly. It's been really interesting. It's been good catching up with you and seeing, just and you look really different as well. I said that on the
It's,
other side. Has
yeah.
anybody else noticed how different you look as well? Has it?
Yeah. I just on some meetings with some people that
Mm,
I've also seen, a few weeks
mm,
ago, they've said there's a definite change. Um, yeah, definitely. And my
yeah.
sister as well.
Yeah, because when we did the first session, you looked uh, well traumatized. You looked sort of frightened. You can see it in people's eyes, you can see it in their skin, and you can hear it in their voice. You can see it in their. I don't know what word I like to use because I hate all of them. Their sort of energy, you know what I mean? That kind of their aura, God.
Yeah, they're kind of
But their
persona.
presence
Yeah,
sounds better. Well, you can tell when somebody's traumatized. You can tell when just through their body language, you know, it's and when you see people sort of come out of that, and it's not being overly confident, it's just that safe feeling, you know, that
mm,
you get when you come out of that trauma, that way of living in that trauma sort of landscape. And when you sort of come out of that, it is, people just say it's like a relief. It's not
yeah,
trying to put a
definitely.
power, yeah. So it's not trying to put, feelings of empowerment or confidence or overpowering or powerful beliefs or anything like that. It's just if you help to neutralize the threats, you don't need to fight it anymore.
No. Mm,
Well, Holly, thank you very much. Thank you for sharing so much. This is going to help a lot of people. So, long way to continue. And the thing is, I always say this to people. I always have like an open door policy. So we did 2 sessions, and then I always catch up with you like a week and then 2 weeks and so afterwards, and I say, how are you going? And then I always offer to do another session if we both feel like it's necessary. In your case, we didn't because you got essentially what you wanted from the sessions, and there wasn't really anything else for us to work on at the moment. However, in the future, you might go through something quite traumatizing. It's like when you go to the dentist, you go for your checkups and they might do the work, but then that doesn't mean in a few years' time you might need a filling or something might doing sort of further on down the line. So IMT is not like having a coat of armor that will sort you out forever, but people know the way it works. And so I often get clients message me years after we've worked together going, Matt, I've just been through a bad breakup. Can we just do a one-off session just to work on these particular things? Like, yep, let's just book it in. Let's just now, because people know the way it works, they know what they can get from a session. So I do have this open door policy that if you want to come back for just like a one-off session, you've got some particular things to work on, we'll just book in one session. So you don't have to book in for again 6, 12, 18 weeks worth of
yeah.
digging and sort of stuff like that. So cool. All right. Well, thank you very much, Holly. Go and
Thank
enjoy the
you.
sunshine. Take your dog out. What's your dog called?
Pigeon.
Pigeon. Right. That's okay. Fair enough. Right. I'll ask. Why's your dog called Pigeon?
Okay, I do. There is, there is reasoning. On Lady and the Tramp, for anyone who remembers the original Lady and the Tramp, the tramp calls Lady pigeon. He calls her pigeon.
And on that bombshell, thank you very much. Go walk. No, the thing, right. Now, I'm not saying you're going to get a reputation with the locals, but if you're walking around your local park shouting pigeon, just saying it's not a great look, is it? There she is again, that woman. Thank you very much, Holly. Go walk or
Thank
go fly
you.
pigeon, and I'll see you
Thank
soon.
you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.